Hey everyone, it's Riley. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am back with another Zebra English hiring help video, and I want to apologize right out of the gate. This is going to be long, but I think it's long for a really good reason because I have put out lots of videos about the hiring process with Zebra English, but the more applicants I coach, the more emails I respond to, the more coaching sessions I run, the more questions I'm asked, the more I am learning about the Zebra English hiring process. So I have been fielding tons of questions lately, communicating with a bunch of different people, applicants, coaches, interviewers, Zebra English themselves, and I've just gotten so much information dumped on me over the past little while that I really just wanted to put it all in one place as a really convenient, accessible resource for applicants. So that's what this video is. I want to try to get all these things that have just been floating around in my brain out so that you can have a real clear picture of what Zebra English is looking for in the hiring process, especially in your demo test. Now, to start, I do just want to make you aware that Zebra English's referral policy has recently changed. I made a video not too long ago talking about how if you have applied less than 3 days ago, you can just email Zebra English and ask to add a referring teacher. However, that is no longer the case. Once you have submitted your initial application, it is no longer possible for you to add a referring teacher. So if you apply through Google or through Indeed or something like that, I'm really sorry to say it's not possible for you to add a referring teacher and get that personal coaching. However, if you have not yet applied and you are interested in becoming one of my referrals and in having that coaching, my referral link is in the description. So I would love for you to use that. I have put a lot of work into creating a hiring guide for my referrals, and it just includes some exclusive footage of my actual hiring process, some props that you can print out if you want, some instructions about what Zebra English is looking for, and video walkthroughs of every single stage of the hiring process. So if that's something that interests you and you have not yet applied, definitely check out the description. And if you have applied, but you're realizing that maybe you need to take a step back and you need to find a referring teacher to coach you through, it is possible for you to reapply with a new email address. I know that's not very convenient for you guys, but that is an option if you do decide to go there. And whether you are one of my referrals or not, if you are in the hiring process or about to start the hiring process, I would love to just invite you to join the Zebra English Hiring Q&A group on Facebook. That will be linked in the description as well. This is just a great place to bounce questions off of other applicants, to learn from the feedback that applicants have received and things like that. This group is also where I host my Zoom coaching sessions. So lately I've been doing these coaching sessions twice a week. We'll see how that continues, depends what the demand is like, but you'll definitely want to come check out one of those sessions, which you can find in this group, where we just go over a bunch of the things that Zebra English is looking for in the hiring process. And it's actually lots of the material from that session that is going to make up sort of the meat of this video. So like I said, this is going to be a long video. I've got a lot to say, so I will be leaving some timestamps in the description if you just want to jump around and find something specific that you're looking for. Now, the first thing I want to address is a question that I have been getting a lot lately, and it's just the fact that applicants are really having trouble finding available slots. So if you are having trouble finding a slot, you got that email from Zebra English inviting you to book your demo test or your teacher briefing or whatever it may be, and you're following the link but there are no slots available, there are a couple tricks that you can try that tend to help people find available slots. The first one is to check back at noon and midnight Beijing time. For some reason, new slots seem to appear at those times, so that can be a really helpful strategy. Another tip is to try actually changing your time zone to Beijing time. So when you do follow that link and go to the website, the first thing that it will do is have you select your time zone. And if you select Beijing time, for some reason, new slots seem to appear occasionally. So you can try that strategy. If you do, please make sure that in your teacher app, you have the correct time zone so that you can show up for your demo test at the right time. Now, if for some reason you're approaching your demo and you do not feel prepared or you can't make it for some reason, please don't just no-show. Like I said, there are so many applicants who are really struggling to find available slots right now. And so my request, if you cannot attend your demo test for some reason, please cancel in advance. You can email resume@zebraenglish.com. You can cancel your demo test. It's not recommended that you do this, but you are technically allowed to reschedule your demo test once. So if you cannot make it, please, rather than just not showing up, reschedule it. If you reschedule or cancel at least 2 hours in advance, this slot can be opened up for someone else, for another applicant who is desperately trying to find a slot. So like I said, in this video, we are going to cover a lot of ground about the demo test and about the hiring process. What I'm not going to do is outline the hiring process. So if you are looking for just a general overview of what the hiring process is like with Zebra English, you'll want to check out this video. Another thing that I'm not really going to do is talk much about what to expect with your interviewer. So if you are curious about what you can expect from your interviewer when you actually get to the demo test, you may want to check out this other video that I have that just explains some of that. What I will tell you about your interviewer is that you could have either an office-based mentor or a home-based mentor as your interviewer. So an office-based mentor is an employee of Zebra English who is stationed in China at their main office. A home-based mentor is a current Zebra English teacher who has experience and is coaching applicants through by running these interviews. So when you get that email from Zebra English and it says mentor, just know that it's talking about this. It's talking about your interviewer, who may be an office-based mentor and maybe a home-based mentor. It doesn't really make a difference, but I do get that question a lot, so I just wanted to clear that up. So let's talk about your demo test. Demo test 1 is a 25-minute session. Please note that your actual teaching should only be 20 minutes. You are not teaching for 25 minutes. You're teaching for 20 minutes. So this My Feelings lesson has 14 slides in it, and you want to squeeze those into 20 minutes. So when you actually get to your demo test, your interviewer is going to greet you, let you ask 1 or 2 questions, then they're going to ask you to use the classroom tools. So even if you were not planning to use every single tool in your actual demo, please be prepared to use them all, because they will request that you just showcase your ability to use the tools. You'll want to use the marker, resize the marker, change the color, add some stickers, go into big face mode, all of those things. Now, another question that I get a lot is, where are the zebra coins? Because when people are in the practice room, you cannot use the zebra coins. So in your little toolbar, you'll notice there is one button that's grayed out that you cannot click. This is the zebra coins button. Clicking this will give your student 3 zebra coins, and this is exactly the same as when you click the little plus icon in their video feed. So clicking the plus icon or clicking this button up here will give your student 3 zebra coins at a time. Now, please keep in mind, using these 2 buttons alone, you can give your student up to 100 zebra coins. Now, lucky boxes, which are on a few of the slides, give your students 10 zebra coins at a time. And these zebra coins go above and beyond the 100 zebra coins. So it's suggested that the bare minimum in your demo test is about 50 zebra coins. I would say set yourself a personal minimum of 80. I personally gave over 100 and my interviewer was thrilled with it. So giving rewards is something that's very important to Zebra English, and you do want to shoot to give out lots of zebra coins. Now, I have also heard of applicants who run out of zebra coins because they're giving them so enthusiastically. So please try to gauge this. You can calculate this yourself. Just remember that each time you click these buttons, it gives 3. You can give up to 100 by using the plus icon or that button. Now, lucky boxes are on top of that. So if you give 3 lucky boxes, 10 zebra coins each, your total could be up to 130 zebra coins. So if you notice that you're starting to get close to that total, you may want to slow down a bit. Still praise your students, still reward them, clap for them, high five them, things like that, but do try to pace yourself accordingly so that you can disperse the rewards relatively evenly throughout your lesson. So after you have shown your interviewer that you can use all of the tools, you will launch right into that 20-minute My Feelings lesson. After the lesson, there will be a very brief time of feedback, and then it's done. So with this very short time of feedback, I recommend that you take notes. Either write them as your interviewer is talking or write them down right afterwards so that you can keep it fresh in your mind. I would also recommend that you actually email resume@zebraenglish.com and ask them for your demo test feedback. This is so important because if you are asked to go to demo test 2, you will be graded on the exact same rubric that they were using for demo test 1. So the feedback that you receive from demo test 1 is essentially telling you the areas that you need to improve in order to pass demo test 2. So please write down that feedback from your interviewer, and I would highly recommend that you actually email resume@zebraenglish.com and ask for your written feedback so that you have it set in stone so you know exactly what to work on when you go to demo test 2. So that's just sort of a breakdown of the actual layout of your demo test: greeting, use the classroom tools, teach your demo, short time of feedback. Now I want to launch into what I typically cover in a normal Zebra English coaching workshop that I run. So we're going to talk about 3 things. We're going to talk about teacher techniques, we're going to talk about classroom usage, using the platform, and we're going to talk about your self-presentation. So these are the things that I talk about usually in my workshops. However, I am planning to go more in depth in this video just because I have more time. I'm not stuck to a schedule. And after that, I'm actually going to walk right through demo test 1 telling you how some of these things can be implemented in the actual lesson. So when it comes to teaching techniques with Zebra English, they have a very specific rubric. And like I said, this rubric will be the same from Demo Test 1 to Demo Test 2. So it's really important that you familiarize yourself with what they are looking for, that you know what techniques they're expecting to see. So a few things that they're expecting you to be able to do. The first is just to pace yourself effectively. Like I said, you have 14 slides and you have a 20-minute lesson. It's up to you to ensure that you can fit all of the slides into that 20-minute lesson. Now, keep in mind that unlike when you are practicing, you will actually have someone responding to you when you're in your demo test. You will actually have errors to correct. You'll actually hear their responses to your extension questions and want to build off of those and things like that. So as you're practicing, please aim for 20 minutes, but in your actual demo, make sure that you just keep an eye on that clock so that you can fit all 14 slides within 20 minutes. Now, I would highly recommend, I always recommend this to applicants, that you just get into their desktop app. They have a resource section that is full of videos, full of helpful documents that will prepare you for this demo test. So you can actually find a PDF right in there that outlines the demo lesson, and it actually gives a breakdown of approximate times that they're expecting you to spend on each slide. So I would recommend just reviewing this. Obviously, you don't need to time it exactly to be 1 minute or 2 minutes or whatever it may be, but it does just give a really helpful guide so that you know where you want to allot more time and where you can afford to cut back a little bit. Now, another thing that they will be looking for is your ability to correct errors. So your interviewer will for sure drop some errors in there because one of the things that they need to check off is that you are able to identify and correct these errors. So there are a few different kinds of errors. If your interviewer makes a content error, you ask, how does he feel? And they say angry, when in fact the answer is tired. This is a good time for you to draw the correct answer from your student. You can use the TPR and say, angry or tired, and actually have them choose again and lead them to that correct answer without actually providing it for them. However, if it's more of a mechanical error and they say something like, he feel happy, you may just have to get right in there. You may even have to use big face mode to correct, he feels happy, feels, something like that. So you want to just be on the lookout for these errors because they will make them, and you do want to adapt your error correction to the type of error that they're making. Another thing that they're looking for is your ability to ask extension questions. So you can start right on the very first slide by asking extension questions. You'll also notice that some slides in the teacher tips, they actually give you ideas for extension questions that you can ask. So whether you use the actual suggestions in the teacher tips or not, just make sure that you are prepared to ask at least a few extension questions because again, that is one thing that they are looking to check off. Some feedback that I've gotten recently from applicants is that their interviewer was more advanced than they expected. So in situations like that, if you show up and your interviewer is more advanced, first of all, just know that that actually is kind of the nature of teaching with Zebra English. These students have been working through the curriculum in their app, and so they actually spend an entire week working with the vocabulary words and the sentence frames before they even get to class. So they do come to class more prepared than students on other platforms might. So if your interviewer is more advanced, they're more prepared to use the sentence frames and use the vocabulary words independently, this will give you even more room for extension. So you can ask extension questions like, do you like dogs on the role play slide? You can ask them, what did you eat for dinner on the first slide? Something like that. You can feel free to ask extension questions, especially when you're gauging that your interviewer is perhaps more advanced than you expected. Now, another thing that they will be looking for is that you are able to use rewards effectively. So as you likely know, Zebra English does not require a secondary reward. They just use ZebraCoins. So I talked about ZebraCoins earlier, how you can give up to 100 by using one of these two buttons, more than 100 using lucky boxes. But when you're giving rewards, please keep in mind that you want to make it obvious to your student that the rewards are coming from you and that they are as a reward of working hard or doing a good job. So you don't just want to let ZebraCoins go unnoticed, because if it's for an actual student, they may think that they just popped up randomly and sporadically for no given reason. So as a teacher, you want to celebrate rewards. You can use some actions to get involved, like you get ZebraCoins. You can dance with your student. You can make a noise. You can blow a party horn, something like that. Clap for them, high five, anything like this. Acknowledge that the reward is from you to them and it's a result of working hard. Along with this, you want to have fun. You want to have fun throughout the whole lesson. You don't really want to let the energy die down. So one place where the energy has the potential to die down is in transitions, especially if your slides take a little while to load, like they often do with Zebra English. So in transitions, what I always recommend doing is I just will click to go to the next slide, then I'll give a reward. and celebrate with my student. You get zebra coins, something like this, and then use very simple transitional language. Let's go, or let's play a game. Something like this. Use actions, use simple language for your student to stay engaged and keep it exciting and fun as you transition. Now, along with having fun, ZebraEnglish is looking to see that you are able to build rapport with your student. So you want to make sure that your student is comfortable in class and that they enjoy having this class with you. So they especially want to see you build rapport on the first two slides, the introduction slide and the selfie slide. So that's one of the reasons why it's a great time to ask an extension question on the introduction slide, because it lets you get to know your student a little bit more, and it lets your student get some personal output. They can actually talk about themselves, and this is a great way to build rapport. On the selfie slide too, you want to make sure that your student is having fun, that they're doing the actions with you, but that they're also producing some output, that they're engaging in that way, and you can build rapport further on this slide. They will also be looking at your teacher talk. So they want to see that you can talk at an appropriate pace, that you can use simple language for your student, and just that you can communicate clearly with your student. So as a rule of thumb, you want to have about 1 word per second. Now, I have never gone out and counted my words per second or anything like that, but basically make sure you are speaking slowly and yet clearly. You don't want it to sound unnatural and disjointed. So try to keep it natural while speaking slowly. You also want to have your student talking at least 70% of the time. So you really, really want to limit your language, especially your incidental language. So incidental language is just anything extra that could confuse your student. Try to cut that down. When you're giving instructions, when you're talking to your student, a good rule of thumb is to give a maximum of 5-word instructions at a time. This way, you're cutting out that incidental language, you're making it understandable for your student. And along with that rule, it's probably only reasonable to expect that your student will produce 5 words at a time. You don't want to have them creating these big long sentences that they're going to get lost and jumbled. You want to have them saying 5 words or less, but yet still complete sentences. So that was a rundown of some of the techniques that ZebraEnglish is looking for you to implement in your demo test. Now I really want to zoom in on what I've been calling the big 3, because to ZebraEnglish, these really are the big 3, and they are TPR, modeling, and effective questioning. I cannot stress enough how important these things are in the ZebraEnglish hiring process. So first, let's talk about TPR. To put it very simply, TPR is using your gestures, using your face to convey meaning or convey instructions to your student. Now, as a general rule, make sure your TPR is consistent. If you do happy like this once, do happy like this throughout the entire lesson. You want to keep your TPR consistent. You also want to make sure that all of your TPR fits within the screen. Generally, I suggest that you try to keep yourself in 1/3 of the screen so that you have 2/3 to work with. Now, there are 2 main types of TPR. The first type is educational TPR. Educational TPR is when you are using your body, your gestures to introduce new content. So you want to use educational TPR when it comes to individual words, such as happy or angry or tired. You also want to use educational TPR when it comes to these short sentences. I feel happy. While it's okay to occasionally use this finger counting strategy to convey a full sentence, ZebraEnglish is huge on the educational TPR. So I would recommend, as much as you can, try to use educational TPR even in your sentences. For example, I feel angry, or whatever it may be. Now, if your student is making an error and they're skipping a word or they're adding an extra word or something, that is a great time to come in and use this finger counting strategy. But in general, like I said, definitely go heavy on the educational TPR. Now, educational TPR goes hand in hand with the next skill that we're going to talk about, which is modeling. So I just want to talk about modeling a little bit now because it is so important with educational TPR. And modeling is moving through that I do, we do, you do progression. So when you are introducing a new word, you want to follow this progression with your TPR. So I'll give the example of happy. Happy, you, the teacher, do it. Then you want to do it with your student. Can you show me happy? Like this, happy. And when you're in the we do section, you want your student to both say the word and do the TPR for it. And then please do not forget that third part of modeling, which is you do. You want your student to produce the word independently based off of your TPR or even your annotation. You can circle on the slide and say, what's this? Or how does he feel? You can use your own TPR and say, okay, what's this? And listen for them. Have them produce it independently without you actually saying the word. So This is an example of how modeling and educational TPR go hand in hand. Now, you don't need to use this on every single slide because after you've already introduced these words, your student won't need that much guidance. But do be prepared the first time you introduce happy, angry, tired, and the first time you introduce full, hungry, thirsty, you definitely want to use this I do, we do, you do movement as you are using your educational TPR. Now, the next type of TPR that you want to use is instructional TPR. With instructional TPR, you do not need to follow the modeling procedure. Instructional TPR is using your gestures to essentially give instructions to your student and allow you to really limit your language or cut out language altogether. So for example, something as simple as this is instructional TPR that shows your student that you're expecting a response, or pointing at your mouth shows your student that you're expecting them to repeat exactly what you've said. So this is instructional TPR, and like I said, you do not need your student to do the TPR with you in this case. There are other sort of gray areas, I guess, when it comes to TPR and just using gestures in class that are really, really important to Zebra English as well. And I've mentioned a few of them already. The first one is just rewards. You want to use your body, use your gestures to celebrate rewards. You also want to use them to signify transitions. Let's go. Let's play big turntable. Something like this. These are examples of how you can use gestures even beyond the educational and instructional TPR categories. Another thing that I like to do is just to use gestures and even sounds to make some of the games more exciting for my student. So for example, while the turntable is spinning, that could potentially be a time for your student to lose interest and to become disengaged. So I like to make it more exciting by making a sound effect like and maybe my student will want to do it with me. On the slot machine, I'll go something like that. You can get silly with it, but I like to use these gestures and use sound effects just to make the lesson even more engaging. So TPR is the first of the big three techniques that Zebra English is looking for. The second of these big three is modeling. As I mentioned earlier, modeling is following that I do, we do, you do progression. So with educational TPR, that looks like introducing the word, having your students say the word and do the action with you, and then having your students say the word independently based off of your action or off of your annotation. Another time that modeling is essential is on the presentation slide. So it actually says on the presentation slide, like, I do, we do, you do. Use modeling. And one document that I actually find quite helpful that I wish was in the demo lesson section in the resources tab is called S2 and S4 presentation slide or something like that. And it's actually in the professional development tab. So if you go into the app, you click on the resources tab and you go to the professional development section, there's actually a PDF there that talks about using modeling on the presentation slide. And it has exact language that you can use to give these instructions. So you can say something like, first, I do, or first, my turn. Now, let's try together. Something like this. You want to use very simple language to show your student that this is what you're doing. First, it's the teacher's turn, then you're going to do it together, and third, the student can do it on their own. So when I kind of move into the demonstration, I will show you more of what this looks like, but I just wanted to point out now that the two essential times to use this modeling procedure is with your educational TPR and on that presentation slide. And the third of the big three teacher techniques that Zebra English is looking for, and the one that I think often goes overlooked, is effective questioning. The more that I work with Zebra English and the more that I learn about effective questioning, the more I love it and see it as such an essential skill in the online ESL classroom. So effective questioning is essentially using different layers of questions to lead your student to full sentence output. So the goal with effective questioning is always a full sentence from your student. So with effective questioning, there are sort of three different levels of questions that you can ask your student, and the goal is the exact same. So the first type of question that you want to ask your student is an open-ended question. For example, how does he feel? If your student is unable to answer this question, you can move to the next level, which is an A or B question. Does he feel happy or angry? And see if your student is able to answer that question. If your student is unable to answer the A-B question, you can move to a yes or no question. Does he feel happy? Yes or no? And have your student answer. Now, like I said earlier, no matter where they're at in terms of what question they can answer, you are looking for the exact same sentence. He feels happy or he feels angry, whatever your sentence is. So this is a great way to lead your student into proper full sentence output. This is a skill that I was not familiar with before teaching with Zebra English. Before I started with Zebra English, my tendency would just be to ask the first question, how does he feel? No answer, and just give it to them. He feels happy. He feels happy. But As I said, the more I learn about effective questioning and the more I actually use it in my actual classroom, the more I love it. And I think this is such an essential skill for you to use in your demo test. So those are all of the teacher techniques that I wanted to talk about that ZebraEnglish is really, really looking for in these demo tests. And I would encourage you, as you get in that practice room, practice every single one of these things. Practice your pacing, practice your teacher talk, practice using rewards, practice the big three: TPR, modeling, and effective questioning. These are so essential to your demo test. So now that we've talked about teaching techniques, I want to move on and just talk about using the platform well. So the first thing that I want to say is just ZebraEnglish has such a wonderful platform. They have made it so easy to use, so user-friendly. And if you have not already downloaded the app, that is the first thing I suggest that you do. Go to ZebraEnglish.com, click download in the top right-hand corner, and you can actually download the desktop app even if you haven't booked your demo test yet. So get into the app and click on the resources tab. In this resources tab, you can watch a video about all of these different games. You can learn about their expectations with their dress code and what they're looking for in the demo test and all kinds of things like that. They have lots of valuable resources here, and this is a great way for you to familiarize yourself with the games that you will be playing in your class. Now, the other tab that you want to make use of, and really the only other tab when you're an applicant, is the Classrooms tab. When you go in there, you can access the practice classroom for your demo test. So when you get into the practice classroom, you will notice that a few of the games are not exactly the same as they are in those resource videos. One example that I can think of is the whack-a-mole game. In the resource videos, it tells you that you'll be able to choose the student or the teacher to use the hammer, but once you actually get there, no one is using the hammer. You're just clicking 1, 2, and 3, and when you click the next number, a hammer will just come out of nowhere and hit the word for you. And just know that however it is in the practice room is exactly how it will be when you get to your demo test. So the principles from the resource videos still apply, and most of the games are exactly the same. But just know that however it is in the practice classroom, this is true to life. This is what it will be in your demo test. There are a few things that you cannot practice in the practice classroom. As I mentioned already, you can't use the rewards button or this reward icon in your student's video feed. You also cannot practice the selfie slide. The selfie slide is fairly straightforward. You want to click the camera icon instead of clicking new round. If you click new round, it'll send you back to the beginning, but basically you are just walking through, taking 3 pictures just like it shows you in the resource video. So this is a great time to rely on those resource videos. You also want to get really comfortable using the classroom tools. So like I said, you'll have to showcase all of these tools before you even teach your demo lesson. And when you actually get into your demo lesson, you just want to be really comfortable with them. I know for me personally, learning to use the marker was a bit of a learning curve. The marker, I think, is kind of inconvenient because you have to turn it on and then turn it back off. And if you don't turn it off, you can't click to go to the next stage of whatever activity you're on. And I know that this in itself isn't a huge issue, but I have heard of applicants where they haven't been able to click the next stage and they didn't realize it was because their marker was still on. And this just caused them to panic and get flustered and make unnecessary mistakes. So in order to avoid those unnecessary errors, just my advice is to make sure that you practice using the classroom tools and that you get as familiar with them as possible. And the last thing that I want to talk about before we actually launch into the demo lesson is your presentation, how you bring yourself to this lesson. So as far as attire goes, they do have a video in the resources tab walking through dress code. It is very basic though. Just dress like you're going to an interview. Cover your shoulders, don't wear anything low cut. Make sure that you are just well presented and looking clean and good. As far as your environment goes, you do not need any elaborate backdrop. I recommend you keep it simple or add something educational in some way. Keep in mind that unless you have an external webcam, your image will not be mirrored. So everything written or something like a map, it will appear backwards to your students. So as you're planning your backdrop, just keep that in mind. And the third thing I just quickly want to talk about is your equipment. Please make sure that your computer and your internet meet the tech requirements. You can find those on their website if you just go to the FAQ section. You can also find them on my website in the tech requirements section if you are interested, and that will be linked below. Of course, you also want to make sure that you are well lit and that you have a headset with a microphone. When you are in the practice classroom or in your actual demo test, you can actually run a little IT test by clicking that settings icon in the top right-hand corner. So you can test your headset, your microphone, and your camera here. You can also test your internet, but as I've said before, this internet test is not reliable. I recommend that you just Google internet tests, run a few. These will give you much more accurate numbers. So let's launch into the actual demo test. This video will not be a direct walkthrough of the demo test. I do have a video like that. If you are interested, you can check it out. But in this video, I mostly just want to talk about how you can utilize some of the techniques that I talked about earlier. And I also will give some demonstrations of that. So let's jump right into the demo test. So on this title slide, there are a few things that you want to do. You want to introduce yourself, you want to get to know your student a little bit, and you want to introduce the topic. This is a really big one. So I would just start off by introducing myself. Hello. My name is Teacher Riley. What is your name? Lily. Great job. My name is Lily. My name is Lily. Yes, very good. From there, after you've corrected her to use full sentences, you want to ask a few questions to build rapport, to get to know your student. So you can ask, how old are you? Did you eat dinner? What did you eat? Something like this. What color do you like? Things like this. These are good basic questions. Again, you want to keep them 5 words or less and use TPR even in the questions that you're asking your student. From there, I would transition into this lesson by doing something like this. Lily, I feel happy. How do you feel? I feel happy. Great job, Lily. Then I would circle the picture of Zach on the title slide where he feels happy. Say, look, how does Zach feel? If your student is unable to answer any of these open-ended questions, this is a good time to start with effective questioning. Move to an A-B if they can't answer. Does Zach feel happy or angry? And have them answer. He feels happy. Yes, he feels happy. We feel happy, Lily. Let's talk about my feelings. And I would underline on the slide just to make it ultra clear that you are introducing the lesson, because what I've been hearing from applicants and from interviewers lately is that they are looking for those exact words, my feelings. Then I would transition to the next slide just like this. I would click the next slide number and then I would give some zebra coins. You get zebra coins, Lily. Let's take a picture. And then you're at the selfie slide. So like I said, you cannot practice this slide when you're actually in the practice room, but this is just a great slide for student engagement. So I would suggest you get your student actually speaking a little bit on this slide too. So you can say, let's make a heart. You can do heart, you can do heart. I would teach my student the word heart. Heart, heart. Yes, great job, Lily. Okay, heart. And then just click the camera button. It'll count down 3, 2, 1. And you want to work through all of these poses. Now, the way that you pose is not nearly as important as the rapport that you build with your student and the fact that you just complete the objective of taking the 3 pictures. Now, once you've taken the 3 pictures, you do want to ask, which one do you like? Now, when you click on the pictures, they will drop back down to help your student choose. So you can either click on them or you can use the marker and write number 1, number 2, number 3, and you want your student saying a full sentence. So I like picture 3 or something like this. And even on a slide like this, as I just demonstrated, you want to use that educational TPR. I like picture 3. So once you've got that full sentence from your student, again, transition, give some zebra coins, and use that simple transition language. Let's go. Now you're at the cultural perception slide. Lily, what do you see? This is an open-ended question, and she could say seriously anything. She could say hat, tree, gloves, present, gift, whatever it may be. Ideally, you are looking to draw her attention to the girl and her mom. So if your student answers tree, great. Lead them to say a full sentence. I see a tree. I see a tree. Good job, Lily. Then I might click on that little animation already and say, do you see a girl or a boy? And use that next level of questioning, the A-B question, to get to the desired topic that you want to focus on. So you want your student to say, I see a girl, or something like this. Then you want to ask the target sentence, the target question that is on the slide, which is, how do they feel? And get that full sentence from your student. They feel happy. So as I demonstrated and as I mentioned, this is a great slide to showcase your ability to use effective questioning and to use educational TPR. And then you want to transition to the next slide. So great job, Lily. You get some zebra coins. Let's go. Now you're at the phonics whack-a-mole type slide. And so you want your student to say the letter name and even the letter sound if possible. So I would just circle it and say, Lily, what letter is this? If you have a flashcard that says M or you've written it out, that's great too. You want her to say the letter M. Yes, M. What sound does M make? Yes. Good. Get your student making that sound a bit, and then you're going to be moving through the animations by clicking on 1, 2, and 3. Now, how I like to play this game is I'll click the animation and then just ask, Lily, what's the word? I would maybe use some TPR, give her a hint, mouse ears or a mouse running, whatever you choose, make it consistent. And if your student is unable to pronounce the word correctly, I like to kind of help them visually blend by doing something like this. Mouse, mouse, mouse. Yes. So this is my typical strategy for that visual blending. But I would also on this slide use educational TPR. Do mouse or mouse, mug, moon, or something like this. You want to incorporate that educational TPR every opportunity you get. Now this slide is also a great time just to add some interactive content for your student. So because they can't actually click the word to whack it, I get my student to pretend to hit it with me. So I'll say, okay, show me your hammer. Or, okay, let's hit. And I'll click the number and we'll pow or kapow hit the word and the next one will pop up. So you want to move through all 3 words. You want to break down the pronunciation, make sure they're emphasizing that sound, and also use educational TPR. And this brings us to the what's missing slide. Now this is a slide where you are introducing happy, angry, and tired. So you really, really want to focus on educational TPR and modeling here. So you want to work through each of these words using the modeling procedure. I do, we do, you do, before you hide any of the cards. So you can click on it to enlarge it. I personally like to use the marker and just circle the word and work through it. So happy, okay, happy. Can you show me happy? Have them do the TPR and say it with you as the we do part. Then don't forget the you do part. Circle happy or do the TPR. What's this? What's this? Happy. Yes, happy. Great job. You can give some zebra coins. Then do the same thing with the next 2 words. Introduce them all using the modeling procedure. Then you can hide a card. So you just click hide. I, again, like to make this game more interesting by pretending that I'm moving the cards myself. So I'll go, what's missing? Now, you do not need to go over the 2 words that are visible before you ask what's missing. You can just ask what's missing. It is more helpful for you to provide the TPR for your student for the missing card than it is to walk through what cards are actually there and go through that same I do, we do, you do procedure with that. That can take a long time. So I would just flip the cards around and ask, what's missing? If your student can't answer, provide some TPR. If you used a prop, you can hold up the prop again. Try to get your student to say the word relatively independently here. Now, please note that this slide really can help you control your pacing because you are not required to hide every single card. You are required to introduce all of the words, but you've already done that. So you can choose to only hide 1 card if that's what you're gauging you're going to need as far as pacing goes. It's also great to try to get a full sentence on this slide. I never like to leave a slide without having received a full sentence from my student. So you can ask, okay, how do I feel? And have the student produce that. You can circle the pictures and have them say in the full sentence, he feels happy, things like this. Try to get a full sentence and then you can transition right to the next slide. Now that brings us to the magnified card slide. On this slide, they are using these new words that they learned, happy, angry, and tired, in full sentences. So you can start this slide by just asking your interviewer to read. Say, okay, please read. Or you can circle and ask, how does he feel? Something like this, and see if your interviewer can read it themselves. If not, be prepared to lead them to that full answer. I feel happy, or whatever it may be. I would recommend coming up with some TPR for he and she. I did not do that in my demo test. I just used little props that I made showing he and she, and still in my classes, I tend to just circle and ask, how does he feel? How does she feel? But because TPR is so important and because you're going to be using he and she all throughout the lesson, I would recommend using TPR. You can actually use the sign language for he and she if you're interested, but this is a good slide to introduce that as well. So even on this slide, you can use that effective questioning strategy. You can ask, how do you feel? If they're unable to answer after some circling and some annotation, some TPR, you can ask, do you feel happy or tired? And see if they can answer that. And then you can move to that yes, no. Do you feel happy? Yes or no? So this is another great slide to work through that effective questioning progression to get the full sentence output from your student. And then again, give some zebra coins, use that simple transition language, and go to the next slide. So next is the look and say slide, and this is kind of the first slide that's just set in a really rich scene. So this is a great slide for extension questions. You can ask an extension question right off the bat if you want. What do you see? Ask this open-ended question and get your student to talk about something. Once you're ready, you are moving into these 3 animations, asking how each character feels. So you want to use your educational TPR to ask, how does he feel? And see if your student can answer. Again, you can use TPR to lead them there. You can underline, you can circle the person, whatever you may need. Try to lead your student to the correct answer without just giving it to them. So again, you can use effective questioning here. And if they are able to produce just a single word, happy, that's when you can even pull out the fingers, or you can use more educational TPR to give them that full sentence. But you for sure want them to come up with that main content word on their own based off of your prompting. You can also use extension questions throughout this slide, not just at the beginning. When you see that he's angry, you can ask, why is he angry? Something like this. There are some suggestions for that in the teacher tips box. You're welcome to use those or your own. And then you can reward and transition. More zebra coins for you, Lily. Great job. Let's play big turntable. Now on the big turntable slide, you can give out lucky boxes. Like I said earlier, they give 10 zebra coins each. So on this slide, it's important that you use both educational TPR and also instructional TPR because you want your student to be the one who presses play and who touches the lucky box. So you want to use TPR to convey that to them. Now again, because you are introducing these words full, hungry, and thirsty for the first time, this is where you want to use modeling with educational TPR. So I do, we do, you do with each of the words. So you can click whatever word you want. I like to make it exciting by going brrrr, something like that. Get your student engaged. Work through that I do, we do, you do progression with each word. Give out some lucky boxes, and then you're good to go. So now we're onto the slot machine slide, and theoretically, this slide is kind of like the magnified card slide where they've been introduced to the individual vocabulary words, but now they're having these full sentences written and right in front of them. So you can choose whichever one you want, make the sound effects, have your student press play, go blah, 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 or whatever you'd like to do. And then you can just ask your student to read again. You can ask, please read, or how does he feel? Something like this. Try to lead your student to that full sentence answer using those same strategies we used earlier. You can use TPR, you can annotate on the slide, use those effective questioning techniques, all of those things to guide your student to the full sentence output for each of these vocabulary words. And don't forget to give out some zebra coins along the way. Now you are onto the role play slide, which again is a great time for extension questions because it's set in this rich scene. So once you're ready to launch into the role play, you can just say something like, let's watch, and then click for the animation to go. They'll do their thing. Then you want to be clear on who is playing what character. So you can say, let's role play. Lily, you are Emma, or you are Zach. And I would circle on the screen, draw an arrow, whatever it may be. And then you want to identify your own character. I am Zach, or I am Emma, whichever one you're at. Then don't forget that you need to click every single speech bubble or every single sentence that's supposed to come up, because if you don't, your student won't be able to see it. So click yours, deliver your line for your student. If they are struggling, again, use those same strategies. Use some TPR, bring in a question if you need to, things like that. And once you're ready to switch, use TPR and simple language. So let's switch. Now you are Zach. And again, you can circle on the slide and then launch into that second round of the role play. Then you can transition right to the presentation slide. Now, I like to introduce it with my microphone because that's what we'll be using on this slide. Just saying, it's dun-da-da, presentation time, Lily. And now you really need to use that I do, we do, you do modeling progression. So I would introduce it like that. I say first, I do, or first, it's my turn. And then you as the teacher are going to read through the entire thing. Read at an appropriate teacher talking speed. You can underline, you can circle, you can use a bit of TPR, which is difficult when you're underlining and circling. But yeah, you want to go through it yourself one full time. Then you want to introduce the next phase and say something like, now let's try together. Something like that, just to introduce that you're working together. And for this one, you can still underline. You can model the sentence and have your student repeat if they need that. You can ask a leading question, one of the 3 levels. You can also use TPR and annotate on the slide for your student. So you want to work through that one together with your student. Then you want to say, okay, now it's your turn, Lily. And for this one, you basically just let them go at it. You can still underline if you need to, you can circle the whole thing, but you shouldn't need to be saying anything at this point. This is their chance to showcase what they've learned in this lesson. Then you'll notice we have a little filler slide just to introduce pronunciation. So I'll just say, it's pronunciation time, let's go, and then go straight to the next slide. Now here you have the sentence, he feels thirsty, and I would introduce this sentence before going into big face mode. So you can ask your student, how does he feel? Because your student is already familiar with the sentence frame. So once your student has been able to produce the sentence, you can go into big face mode. I do recommend having thirsty or he feels thirsty written out on a cue card or maybe a whiteboard or something like that. Again, keep in mind, if you're using written props, they need to be written backwards in order for your student to see them correctly. So you can write that out if you want to, and then you're just trying to isolate errors. So if your interviewer is making a specific error like thirst, leaving that final vowel sound, or thirsty, something like that, you want to isolate those specific errors and just get your student repeating the word. You can have fun with it. You can sing it, you can whisper it, yell it, whatever it may be. Just get them saying thirsty and making these sounds to correct that error. And then you can drop back out of big face mode and just ask, how does he feel? And have them produce that entire sentence with the correct pronunciation of thirsty. And then you are moving on to the closing slide. So you will get a pop-up box just saying like, are you sure you're ready to go to the closing slide? If you're not, you can just click out of it. If you haven't given your student all the zebra coins that you want to give them, that's totally fine. What I do in my classes is if I reach this second last slide and I haven't given out all the zebra coins, I'll just say, okay, you get lots of zebra coins. Are you ready? Yes. And then I'll just click the zebra coin button until it stops giving zebra coins before going to the next slide. So once you are ready to go to the closing slide, click that final slide, choose yes, I'm ready to go, and then you'll have the trophy pop up for your student. So you can ask your student, how many zebra coins? And you can teach them the word 100 or 120, whatever it may be. You can pull out that little trophy sticker of Zach and say, Zach says, champion. Introduce them to the word champion. 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 Yes. Can you do this? Champion. Great job. You want to tell your student that they did a great job and that you will see them next time. Goodbye. That's it. That was a doozy. We walked through all of these different techniques that you can use, how you can use the classroom effectively. We walked through the demo lesson, and I really, really hope that something in this video was helpful to you, because I try to compile all of the information that I've been getting as I've been coaching applicants and as I've been in touch with ZebraEnglish and learning more and more about the interview process. This is just kind of the video where I wanted to dump that all out there and just make this a one-stop shop, sort of, for applicants. Now, of course, I'm sure I'll think of things that I forgot, and I will be making more videos just with little tips and tricks and things like that, and maybe new things that I'm learning about the hiring process. But I really, really hope that this video was helpful to you. Like I said, I think that this video is a great resource for you. And I'm not saying that because I think I'm great at making videos. I say that because I seriously have been soaking in so much information over the past little while and just dumping it all in one place. And this is something that I wish I had had when I was an applicant. I did not know the techniques that they were looking for. I didn't know what effective questioning was and things like that. And now that I know, I'm ready to share it with you guys. So I hope that you found this resource valuable. If you do have further questions, you can feel free to join the Facebook group. Ask those there. There are plenty of people who have gone through the hiring process and who will have great answers and great experience for you. You can also feel free to email me, riley.autumn@outlook.com. Thank you so much for hanging in there and watching this video. I really hope that it was helpful to you, and if it was, please feel free to like and subscribe so that you can stay up to date for all of my tips to succeed as an online ESL teacher.